so much, Naviti. I'm so excited to be speaking today at the conference Connect REIMAGINE. And thank you for the amazing organizers who organized the event. So yeah, let's get started. So yeah, as mentioned just now, I'm based in Dubai and I focus around cloud native AI and DevOps. And usually you would see me working around OpenShift, Kubernetes, and Tecton, these technologies, and in addition to Node-RED. And I'm really passionate about women empowerment, sharing knowledge, innovation, and diversity and inclusion. So if you have any questions for me during the workshop, after the workshop, or if you'd like to connect, you can find my socials here. And I would be happy to, have a chat on anything that is related to technology and so on. So today we'll be talking about GeoJson and Node-RED, and we'll be exploring these and then how we're going to work with these technologies together. Now you will find these useful links here for you. I have shared them with you in the chat. The first link is a feature link for IBM Cloud, so you can use it for free. You can use the light services to get started and learn IBM Cloud. You can also upgrade your account for free and get $200 of cloud credits, so you can spend it on our services. And I have also shared with you the documented tutorial of what we will be doing today. So it has everything you're going to need to follow along with me. In addition to creating Node-RED Starter Kit application, which I will also be demonstrating, so you can learn how you can work around with Node-RED. And finally, the Acquire Genuity API key, which you would just simply sign up for it, and you will be able to use the credentials for today's workshop. So what we will be talking about today, first, I'm going to introduce the low-code, no-code, what does the term mean? And then I will introduce Node-RED, its components, and how you can install it, and so on. And then I will introduce GeoJson and how it's going to look like and how you can work around with it. And then I will introduce the use case and hands-on, which we will experiment with, and hopefully you will follow along with me step by step. So what does low-code or no-code mean? Low-code refers to software development approach that usually requires, little to no coding, so you can build your applications and the processes. You don't really have to have this very, strong background in coding. You can build applications as you enjoy and without having to, worry about writing every line of code. And there are so many examples of applications and software that you can use to build your applications. And there are so many real-life scenarios in which that apply this. Similarly to Hitachi and Siemens, they both use Node-RED. I can share with you links on how they're using Node-RED for their businesses and how they're using these low-code tools for their softwares, which is really interesting to learn more about how they're using it in real-life scenarios. So what is Node-RED? Node-RED is an open source tool that was originally developed by IBM in 2013. It is a visual programming tool that can be used to connect hardwares together and APIs. So you can build your IoT applications as well. And I really enjoy experimenting with APIs, with different APIs to come up with the applications that I am interested in. So it is a browser-based editor that consists of nodes on a palette. And it's very simple, like you don't have to install any software. You can just simply use it in different ways. So this is what it would look like actually when you first use it. You have to the left where your nodes are. You can install nodes. There are default nodes such as the inject node and the debug node. These are your input and output nodes. And you can create so many variations of code with, with literally, no coding most of the times. If you like to code, there are actually some nodes in which you can write functions to write however you want it to your application to do. So there is a flexibility in it, and you're not limited to just using the nodes that you have here. Using Node-RED, you can actually run it in different ways. You can run it locally on your machine, or you can run it on a device like Raspberry Pi, or you can run it on the cloud like IBM Cloud. So it's actually really interesting when you want to run it on the cloud because it encourages collaboration between teams. You can access it from anywhere. You don't have to worry about loss of your data because, like, in case of any damage that happens to your machine. So you can just simply, make sure that everything in your application is safe on the cloud. So there are some technical components that are part of Node-RED, and the first one, which is the flow. Now, the flow is basically a collection of nodes that are wired together. And as you can see here, this is how your flow would look like. It consists of nodes. These nodes can have multiple inputs and outputs, as you can see. So, for example, this node, the next node. So whatever is going to come out of this node will be used as an input to the next node. And your nodes, your flow can run consecutively, as shown here, or in parallel, as shown here. So these both nodes can run in parallel, unless if you're using like if statements or conditions. So usually the flow is saved in JSON object. We will see how it's going to look like originally. And it can be imported and exported between Node-RED instances. So once you export it, if you want to use it in another application, in another Node-RED application, you can do that easily. On the other hand, you have nodes. Nodes are the basic building blocks of the flow. So they are what makes the flow. And inside these nodes, you will have information that are stored in JSON objects, usually known as messages, which we'll be diving into in a bit. So, for example, as you can see here, this node is the start node. You can say it can be the inject node, or it can be a UI node like a form or something that is giving us an input as a string, which is JDR, totally amazing. Now this input is passed into the next node, which is an input to this node. So this is an out. It's coming as an output to become an input to the next one. And in this node, it's probably extracting the sentiment of it to give us a score of 4, as you can see here, which is positive. And then later on, all of these details can be sent to the next one, which could be an output node that is shown on your console or on your UI. So these messages are actually, the objects that pass between these nodes. And mainly, you will see that the main object is called a message object, and it holds all of this information. You can add as many information as you want, as many details to this message object. Mainly, you will see the topic and the payload in the default nodes, and the payload is what shows us the interesting information. So whatever is an output is going to be saved in the payload, unless you're going to work your way around it. And you can add more than the payload to your message object to make it, do the job that you want it to do. So there is so much flexibility when working around with Node-RED. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that when we're going to do the hands-on section. But first, let's understand GeoJson. What is GeoJson? Probably it can be something new here. It's really interesting because it is a format of encoding a variety of geographic data structures, and it is based on the JSON format. So once you have this JSON object, you will see your data rendered on a map similarly to this. So it can show us an area, it can show us a town, a country, or even watersheds and so on. So they fall under different geometry types, which are the point, line string, polygon, multi-point, multi-line string, and multi-polygon. So these are what would create for us the rendered sections of the map. And usually it is written in a JSON object that looks like this. So they are like in feature collection that has, the type, which is called feature, and then the geometry in which you define the type of it, whether it was a point or a polygon, and then you would add the coordinates, which will be drawn on the map. So this one is a point, so you'll only have one coordinate that consists of longitude and latitude. But if you have a polygon, you will have multiple coordinates, with multiple points that will have, each one of them will have longitude and latitude. And then you will have properties, which can include name and anything that could describe the area that is included in this GeoJSON object. So moving on, we're slowly getting into the hands-on section. And first, we have to understand, the use case before we're going to show how you can do things. So the main part of our entire architecture, which is Node-RED, this is where you're going to build your application and you're going to connect your APIs together. Now, in this workshop, we will be using two APIs, which are the Aquagenuity API and the USGS Watershed API. I will be showing them to you in a bit. And then all of this output will be displayed on a dashboard that will look like something like this. So it's really nice. So the dashboard is actually one of the features in Node-RED. And it shows us, like, for example, you'll have a special collection of nodes that you can install. And then you can show these components like the table, the form, and the map. And in this dashboard, you will see that you have these buttons here that will enable and disable whatever is going to be rendered on this map here, like the watersheds and the water basin. We have a simple form that takes the zip code, which will, once we submit it, will result to us a table of the contaminants and the toxins that are shown here in red, for example, if they exceed the APL limit. If they exceed the APL limit, means that there is a health risk that, and we have to monitor it and so on. So this is how it's going to look like. Now, keep in mind that the table actually uses the Aquagenuity API. So if you want to make sure that it works, you will have to use your API and add, your credentials to the node that is going to be connected to it. As for the show maps sections, it actually it is connected to the USGS API. It does not really require any credentials, so it's totally fine, and it will show directly for you. And actually, as well, keep in mind that the data here, for example, for the Ridgewood is static. So if you want to do any changes and see for any other areas, you will have to make changes to the GeoJSON object, or you have to make it dynamic. So you can just simply extract the use the zip code, for example, to make it more dynamic and render it on the map. So the use case is around water sustainability, as it requires from us to protect the groundwater and subsurface aquifer from any dangers or toxic pollutants. So water has to always be monitored based on the watershed from where the water is coming from. So in our case, if the toxins exceed the API limit, then the table will highlight it in red, and then it will show us, for example, the health risks. If you, as you can see, this is how it's going to look like here. It's in red. That means it exceeded the API limit, which is dangerous. So yeah. Now for the APIs, there are two. I mentioned that multiple times, but the first one, which is the USGS, it is to extract the GeoJSON data to query the watershed area. I'm going to take a look at them and show you that, the components of these APIs, and Aquagenuity will just give us the water quality reports based on the USA zip codes. So they are based on the US. If you want to try, you might have to try different APIs for other areas, for example, because, for example, in some countries, they don't use zip codes, for example. So I'm going to just start right away with the hands-on section. Okay. So first thing, we're going to need to create our Node-RED application. And I hope that by now you have managed to create your IBM Cloud accounts. In case if you haven't, it's fine. You can take your time, as I'm going to show you how you can create your Node-RED applications. And it's very simple. So you can just simply go to your search bar here and then look for Node-RED. So Node-RED is actually based on Node.js as well. So any code you're going to write will be based on JavaScript. So here you can view information about Node-RED. You can just go to the create section and give it a name. So I'm going to give it, for example, and then here where you would select your resource group. Usually, if you have a light account, it will be at the default. You can create your own resource group as well. Now, here is where it's important also for the region. Now, once you're going to create your Node-RED application, you're going to also create Cloudant database. Now, for Cloudant database, if you already have one that is created, you can use it, or you can just create a new one, and you can use the light version of it. Just make sure to select the closest region to you. For example, for me, since I'm based in Dubai, I would usually go with London and just select the right resource group. Sometimes it will show automatically if you are in the area that is the closest, for example, London. And you have to make sure that in this application, all services are going to be in the same region to avoid any latency. So for the pricing plan, we'll go with light. So now it's currently creating the application for us. And you will be redirected into this overview page that shows the application details. Now, you will not be able to do anything until the Cloudant service has been provisioned. It will provision the service credentials for you. And then you will be able to see, for example, your source code and the CI pipeline that you will have to run later on. It will run automatically. So we can give it a few minutes. So sometimes actually creating Node-RED application might take some time, so don't worry about that. Let me find so maybe this will give you time to actually create it along with me. Okay, so that's great. Now that it has created for us the Cloudant service, so it only took a few minutes, which is great. You would just simply go to the deployment automation. We need to deploy our application somewhere, and we're going to deploy it through toolchain. For this one, we're going to deploy it through Cloud Foundry. You can deploy it in different ways, like Kubernetes, OpenShift, or Code Engine. But for the light version, just go with the Cloud Foundry and generate an IBM Cloud API key. Now here, this is also, keep in mind that when you're going to create the light version, just do not exceed the memory allocation, which is 256. Otherwise, it will tell that you have exceeded your organization memory limit. You might have to, upgrade your account. So, but for this workshop, you don't have to worry about it. Just do not exceed it, so the application wouldn't fail. Unless if you're using the standard, then it should be fine. Then select the region. In my case, it's going to be London. If otherwise, it will show me some errors, like, you know, I would have to have an organization and a space. If I do not have them, I will not be able to create the account. And you can give a name to your host and select whatever domain you're interested in. So I'll keep it at this one here. And then we're going to go with next. And also, this is where our tool chain will be created. And I'm going to also go with London. It's also recommended that you would keep your tool chain, Node-RED application, anything around Node-RED, for example, in the same name, so you wouldn't forget about them later on. So now it's generating the code for us, and we can later on view the source code here. Which will generate for us the CI pipeline. So this will usually also take a few minutes, and that's totally fine. And there you go. So now it's actually refreshing and will show us the details of the application, but the CI pipeline will still have to run. So at first, it might show that no stages have been detected. So we will still have to give it also a few minutes. And if you click on it, it will show you the CI pipeline dashboard. And once the pipeline runs, it will show you that it's currently being run. If you click on it, you will view the the details of this pipeline run, and you can see the logs, and you're going to see how it's going to be built, what are the steps, and these steps are usually automated. So like extracting the repository, then the cloning task, build, and then deploying and publishing the deployment. So hopefully they will be successfully built. While it is being built, I will actually show you the tutorial that you can find it here on developer.ibm.com. This is where you would usually find so many useful tutorials and resources on different technologies around AI, cloud native, blockchain, and much more. So this is the tutorial for what we will be using today, and everything is well documented here, and I would highly encourage you to take a look at it, because we will be using some code from the tutorial actually. And if you scroll way down below, you will find two examples of the of this use case. The first one, which I will be explaining, which is around Ridgewood. So it focuses on showing the watershed on the map for that area. And the second one will display the Atlanta GA watershed on the map. I will be explaining only the first one for the sake of time. And you can simply just take a look at the code. Hopefully, explaining the first part will. Oh, if you're getting an error with sure, I hope I will help you out if you're facing the errors when it comes to creating your account. Just let me know, and after the workshop, I will see how we can work around it. So yeah, the second example, like once I'm done with explaining the first one, hopefully you'll be able to explore the second one on your own pace. And this is going to be the code that we will be copying for this one here. Now let's go back to this one. Now, as you can see, deploying might take some time as well. We have to be patient when it comes to working around with, these, I would say, when you want to deploy on the cloud in general, if you're generally like, you want to put something on the internet out there. So while we're actually waiting, I can show you one of the applications that I have deployed before, so we would save on time. Okay. So this is what you would usually be working with. I will not explain this one yet. First, we have to understand the basics of Node-RED. So as I mentioned earlier, you have to the left all of your nodes here. You can explore them however you like. For example, some useful nodes are the HTTP nodes. So you can make HTTP requests or create your own web pages. I like them so much because sometimes you might not find nodes for the APIs you're looking for. So you would just simply make an HTTP request through these nodes. And you can use, for example, the debugging node to extract information about, about the flow in general. So you have a message object. You will read the information about the message object. You have, for example, this inject node. If you click on it, you can see that you can make changes here. So like message.payload includes the timestamp. Message.topic can include this is a topic, for example. You can add as many information as you want. For example, simply like to the message object, and then just make sure to select on done. As for the debug node, it usually shows you the message.payload. So make sure to deploy it to save your changes. And if you see here on the right, there are actually like some information that you can view about your nodes or your flow, and even the debug section. The debug section is where you want to read the messages and track the details about your nodes. So, for example, in this payload, wait, this one is actually showing me for the other flow. So I'm just going to show for current flow, and then I'm going to start the flow. So I'm going to inject some input to it. And as you can see here, it's showing us that the message.payload is the timestamp. If you want to show the entire message object, you can just simply go to output and then complete message object. Click done, deploy, and then inject. You'll be able to see the entire components, like all of whatever is inside the message object, like the message ID, payload, which is the timestamp, topic, the string that I just wrote, and test. So it's pretty simple and straightforward and really fun tool to use. So let's see. Now I'm going to delete this entire flow so we can, go from square one. First, we're going to need to go to the code of this flow that we want to import. Now, as you can see here, it is of a JSON format, and it includes all of the details that are related to the flow from the nodes, and any information that is inside the node if you have any variables or values that are saved inside the flow. So just make sure to copy it. I'm just scrolling down because sometimes, because I'm using the JSON editor on my browser, it can mess things up for me. So yeah, that's why I'm just scrolling. But you can view the raw and the raw version of it, and you can just see it. So if you go to the hamburger menu at the top right here, and then go to import. So you can import and export these nodes very simply, and just you can save the file into a JSON file, or just paste it here, paste it to the clipboard here. If there are any errors, it will tell you of those, and just import it. So some of the nodes that I am importing already exist in my workspace. Import copy. Okay. Because I already created the flow, so it showed me that message, and I just imported a copy of that. So yeah, this is I don't know when it finished. Yeah, 3 minutes ago. It took this much time till it finished deploying the Node-RED application. So it has been deployed successfully, which is great. Now, I'm just going back a step back so I can show you how it would look like when you first create your Node-RED application. Sorry for interrupting the previous step, but yeah. So if you refresh it, you will be able to see the details about your Node-RED application, so you can access it from here. So this is the link here, and you just have to set it up, like set up the login information. So for example, and then it's important to keep it secure. So add a username and password to it, and then just go next and finish. And then it will just set up Node-RED for you. You can just access it from go to your Node-RED flow editor. Okay. And there you go. So this is how you would actually successfully build your Node-RED application. And I'm actually going to import it here. Yeah, because when you first try to okay, I did not deploy it. I will have to add the flow again. So from the hamburger menu, just go to import and paste it. And as you can see, it showed you some errors like unrecognized types. So you would have to install nodes. And if you go to your flow, you will see that some of them are shown unknown because the nodes are not installed. You can do that by going to the hamburger menu and then to manage palette. And then select install. We have 3 types of nodes that we want to install. The first one, which is the world map, Node-RED world map contrib world map. So it's going to be like that. If you select a world map, you will see this one. So just install it. You can also view node information. So I'm just going to install it here. So the cool thing about Node-RED is that there are plenty of options of nodes that you can use, and they're developed by the community, so they're all open source. And this one shows us a map, and there are different types of nodes that you can use. For example, the world map, you can add it as its own web page. You can also add it in your own web pages as well. The UI world map is usually shown in the dashboard. So you know, when you want to install the dashboard and use any dashboard components, you will definitely find it there. So next one is going to be the dashboard nodes. So if you search for dashboard, it's going to be Node-RED dashboard. This is what we want to install. And it will install for us all of these nodes. And finally, the last one, which is, let me take a look at it here. Oh yeah, the UI table. I just remembered. UI table. So this is for the UI, like the table to be shown on the UI. So, okay, so I'm getting this here. I think probably it's better to install the dashboard first and then the world map, so you can view the world map here. Not sure if it's going to make a difference, but just try to install dashboard and then both your world map and table UI, so you can get the world map. In case if this does not work, you can just use the other node, which is the world map itself instead of the UI, but it will not be shown on a dashboard to my knowledge, and that's totally fine. You can still view it. but I can view it here in the other one. So it will be here. It's usually shown under the dashboard. So if you go for dashboard, actually, yeah, this is the dashboard components. So these are the nodes that were installed under the dashboard, and the world map is installed under these nodes as well. So once you install all nodes, you will see them here like that. Now, the flow is might look a bit huge at first, but let's try to, divide it into smaller sections. So the flow is actually, we can say that it is divided into 4 sections, and I'm going to explain each part. So we're going to make it look more simple. But first, the entire flow is, you can say, initialized at the beginning. So you would initialize everything. You would initialize the map mainly, like, for example, Ridgewood, the Hohokus Brookwater Basin, and the river. So all of these are disabled at the beginning. So you would eventually, in the dashboard, you will be able to enable and disable however you like. So this is the whole point of this inject node here, to just initialize the entire flow. This is the other part of the flow, which is for the table. I will explain it once I'm done with the first sections. So I'm going to just take a look at this section here. If I actually minimize it a bit, it might not look clear yet, but it's fine. I will just copy it, and then I'm going to move it to an empty one. So the show Ridgewood node, this node here is actually a UI node that is like a button, and it's a switch. And it would simply, once you click on it, it will enable for us the flow, like what's coming forward. So it would set it to true, because it is initially set to false. Once you click on the switch, it will turn it on. So that's simply how this node works. Now, once this is true, it will run the entire flow. So this is a true. So this is false. Then this turns true once you turn on the switch, which will lead us to the next one. Now, this is also called a switch node, but this is not a UI. This is more like an if statement or a conditional node. So, like, in case if it's true, it will go to the first flow. In case if it is false, it will go to the second one. So if it is true, it will run for us the API. If it is false, it will just not show the map. It will hide it. It will hide for us the polygon that we are using to view the the water basin. So that's basically what it does. So you just have to make sure that, like, use the conditions here, and it is towards to any value that you are using. So, like, it could be not necessarily Boolean. Actually, it could be a string or numerical, and so on. So this is the what is it called? The information, your GeoJSON objects, and if you expand it, you will see the details of this GeoJSON object. Now, this one is of type polygon, and as you can see, it has multiple coordinates. So, and it's actually really huge because it is showing a large area of the map. And it has other information that include the properties like location and the zip code. Usually, these are useful to tell us like what is this geometry representing. So now that we're extracting the zip code boundaries, we're using a function node to draw it on the map. This is where you can see this is where you can, for example, manipulate the properties. So, for example, it is currently of color maroon. You can change the opacity, basically how it is viewed on the map. And these details, like, are saved in the message.payload. So it's telling us that the name is Ridgewood and the layer is Ridgewood. And the GeoJSON objects are saved in the like the message.payload, which is what was in the previous node here. So this one will save everything, which is the GeoJSON object, in the message.payload object. So eventually it will be message.payload equal to this GeoJSON object, everything that is inside that one. So it is currently, this one is the previous value, and this is going to be the new value that has all of these details. And then it will just return the entire message objects. You can return message.payload as well, but sometimes it's good to also use the message object. Then once that is done, you can also view the you can view the output of this Ridgewood map, and then it will be then passed onto the world UI map, so you can see the output there. Now for this one, this is just hiding the layer, so it is just using some simple commands here, as you can see. So like you would enable it, you would disable the map because it is just, you know, not being shown on the map. We did not really we did not really enable it. So that's how this flow is like. And similarly, the other parts of the flow are like that. You can find, this is a comment node, by the way, and you can find the information about whatever area you want to try out if you just go to the GitHub repository. So this one is just showing us the GeoJSON with the states and their zip codes here. Like for example, if you go and view for California, now this is very huge, so you can just view raw. And there you go. So you have the feature collection, the features, and then it's, you know, telling us the properties. So if you are interested to try out other locations than Ridgewood, for example, you can take a look at the GitHub repository and just replace it. But it will actually, it might be a bit challenging if you want to just copy it directly. So you will have to upload it somehow. Or I'm not entirely sure because I haven't tried, but it's actually pretty huge. You could probably make it also dynamic or just extract it from, you know, online files. Now, this is for the first part of the flow. If we take a look at the second part of the flow, which is showing us the Hohokus waterberg basin. So I also want to copy it as well. So it is similar to the previous part. It might look a bit different though. And okay. So similarly, we have the switch node, which will enable the flow for us. And then you have the other switch node, which will tell us which flow to go to. And it's using the, and then, for example, it's using the USGS Hohokus, the API to extract information about the area, which is for the water basin. So if you click on it, you will find the API links, so you can make your API calls, sorry. And this is actually an HTTP request node. So you can use any API and just simply make a GET request or a POST request. So for example, this one is a GET request because you can add all of the information here in the link itself. So for example, it's extracting here the code for the area that we are talking about. If you want to switch and test out for other areas, you can just simply change the code here that is shown on the UI. Similarly to this node here as well. So these are actually two different APIs, I believe. And you just simply show the, just to change the code for it. So yeah, these are two different APIs. The first one is just showing us the Hohokus Brook, and the other one is showing us the water basin. You can view information about like which stream do you want to view by clicking on this link here. So if you go to this website, if you go to this website here, you will see all of the data that you can use. And you can just simply, for example, take the site number and replace it with the one that is inside the flow. That's it. So you can see like there are different areas. I'm not familiar with these, but they are mostly based in the US. Some of them are very detailed, like specific areas and so on. Okay, so let's see. The next thing we have, this is also, what is it called? This is a change node. Now the change node is how you would change values. So in this one, we're taking the payload, and saving it in the message.payload.geojson. So this is the node. We have the output of it in message.payload. We took the output and then we changed it to become from message.payload, so it wouldn't be overwritten. Like all of this information will eventually be saved in message.payload. So message.payload.geojson, and then we're adding also the layer. We set the layer. It is the name of the area in addition to the payload.name. So we're giving it just the name of the area, and then the color. You can also change the color and the weight however you like, so you can see how it's going to change on the map. And then the last node here, which is to hide the water basin, similar to the previous one. So it is just simply hiding the layer and providing the name of the layer which we have provided earlier here in the node. So once you want to draw the water basin map, it will also be similar to the previous flow that I showed. You can also manipulate, for example, the colors. You can change it from a blue to green, and you can also change all of these features however you like, the opacity and so on. And then there's the debug node, and I will show it to you once I'm going to run the flow. But one thing we have to keep in mind, if you're going to this will actually cause an error, so we just have to delete it. And I want to deploy it actually. So if we see, if we want to first, as you can see, there is no output in the debug section, and that is because we did not start we did not start or trigger the flow, and we can do that through the UI or through this node here, inject node here. So this is injecting false, and we would have to actually set it to true. Okay. So it usually shows like when there are changes. I will try to do that in the UI instead. So how you can view the UI, basically, because this is a dashboard, you would have to go click on this arrow here and then go to the dashboard. And then there is, yeah, this one here. So it will be like your link and then /forward UI. And it will, our UI is going to look like this. Now keep in mind that the table will not be shown yet because I haven't used the Aquagenuity API. We still have to make our own changes to that part of the flow. Okay, surprisingly, I'm not sure why it is not shown here. Okay, I probably shouldn't have deleted the previous node because it probably caused a bit of a bug. let's see how we're going to make it work. So I'm going to actually try this one as well. Oh. Okay. Okay, that error actually is a bit new to me. But yeah, let's see how we're going to fix it. Now for this one, because this is a new flow, I'm just going to show you how it's going to look like eventually. So this one will not show the map for us, but I just want to show that part of the map. Okay, wait, I have to add a different node here. Yeah. Okay. Now this is a bit uncalled for, unfortunately, but you will be able to view it. I caused some bug when I deleted, unfortunately, the flow. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes in live demos, I would have something that like it would fail. No worries about that. Actually, you will still be able to view it. Okay. Let me try to just. I actually the one that I had saved ready, I deleted it. But let me try again and import the flow again. Sorry about that. Actually, it happens.
Yeah, that demos can be cursed. Don't worry about that. This is going.
Yeah.
This is going well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to try to import it again. Hopefully, I won't face the same error, but trust me, you won't go through that again. I just like happened to overwrite it. Like this is how it happens. Like the dashboard, it's probably because of the layer itself. Like because it is the same code. So and if you remember when I was like what's it called? I saved a copy of that flow, so it kind of probably caused something weird around it. So I'll just try to do it again. That's real quick. Okay. Oh, sorry. But anyways, if let me see, view nodes, I'm going to replace it. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Oh, there you go. See, I just had to replace it. I imported a copy and that probably messed everything up. So basically, when you're going to have to, as you can see here, I'm so happy that it worked finally. Yeah, as you can see here, you can play around with the map. You can view like the water basins and the areas and so on. So it's rendered on the map based on the flow. Thank you so much. I'm celebrating internally. And so, yeah, as you can see here, we don't have the table yet, which is the last part I'm going to show you. And simply, I'm just going to zoom in a bit. So this is the part that is related to the, what was it called, the to the table section. So basically this is going to be the node in which it's going to this is for the form, by the way. So you're going to enter a zip code. As you can see here, that it is labeled as zip code. If you take a look at the UI, it will be shown here, enter a zip code. And so you're going to just take the input to it and add it into the function. And the function here will, save it in here. Here is where you have to add your credentials for the Aquagenuity API. So in my case, I'm just going to quickly copy and paste the credentials. Not a safe way to do it live, but yeah, it's fine. Anyways, so you're just going to simply copy your credentials, the one that you have added and created from the Aquagenuity API, and then it will take the zip code from the form that we have used here, and then it will then make the API call in the in using the Aquagenuity API, using the HTTP request node, and it's using a post method. You can use any method however you like, based on the APIs that you are using and based on the values and the variables that you are using as well. And so this is going to be a change node in which we are using the values and the output from the HTTP request node. And I think these ones are going to be static a bit. So, and it's totally fine. You can play around with it. For example, it's going to take the longitude and latitude. These do seem static to me, unless you want to make changes, probably because of this zip code here. And then this is the table that will show us the contaminants and the health risk details. If you click on that table, you will be able to view the health risk details about that toxin, for example, that pollutant. So it is connected to the table, and it will show us the dialog, so something like that. And if I deploy it, just make sure to deploy it. Hopefully it will work. Okay, so I'm going to close this one. And you can enter it through a zip code here, or you can also just enter the zip code. And as you can see, it's showing you that it is requesting. And if we take a look at the debug, you will see it here. And there you go. We have the table. Yay. You can add any zip code you want. It will be shown here. It is not static because of the zip code, because of the form. But if you're going to use the inject node here, it's going to be static. And one more thing, which is going to be the debug, because it is very important. As developers, we always have to debug our code, and in Node-RED, we have to debug the flow. We have to understand the output of the nodes that we are using and working with. So this, you can read them here. So if you select, for example, on the node ID, it will show you which node is giving you which output, which is very useful, especially if you are facing any errors. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And hopefully you were able to understand, Node-RED. And actually, this starter kit is actually part of our starter kits in Call for Code. So yeah, so for Call for Code is actually an annual hackathon, and this year we're focusing on climate change. One of them is the water sanitization, and this starter kit is under water sanitization. You can also explore other starter kits around zero hunger and green consumption. So it is actually an annual hackathon, and you can get to participate and build your solutions for the social good. Feel free to check out developer.ibm.com to learn more about Call for Code. Just / Call for Code. So I actually got on time when it comes to the workshop. probably 10 minutes exceeded, but if anyone has any questions, just feel free to know.
Yeah, amazing. Like you've taught us Node-RED and that too live. You set up the entire project. So that was really hats off to you.
Thank you so much. It can be challenging sometimes to hold live demos. How long did it take for me to learn Node-RED? I would say probably a week maximum. And I was working on my own project back then. Like I decided that I wanted to do a fun project, and it was around using Twitter data, like tweets, and stream them into the map to, view latest news about any certain topic, which is a really interesting project, I would say, even though it was simple, but it was really nice to just, because I had experience, for example, with the Twitter API back then. So if you have knowledge with it, yeah. Can I give an example project? Yes, definitely. I actually have these examples. I will share them in the chat with you. Just give me a second. I had them prepared, the links. I mentioned them before. So we have two projects. Hitachi. I will share the link here. So Hitachi is actually a company that is using Node-RED for their microservices applications. And this is an article that they were talking about Node-RED and how they are using it, which is really amazing. And then there's Siemens. So they're also using Node-RED for their applications. I sent you the links in the chat so you can take a look at how it is used in real life.
Awesome. And do we have any other questions? Masa shared a lot of links with us before the session as well as right now. So do feel free to check it out. And these APIs that you use, they are open source?
Yes, they are. So you can just simply, for example, create them, or just like use an API called like the USGS. Just simply add the link, or the Aquagenuity. You just have to register for it. There's a free version that they can use.
Awesome.
And if anyone is like trying out after this workshop, just feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm always on. I can respond on LinkedIn or even on my email most of the time. So yeah, just feel free to reach out.
That's really nice.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure to actually be speaking at the event. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Learned a lot about Node-RED, and also this topic was really good about sustainability and water quality. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining us as well. Do feel free to check out our other sessions and the networking events, the networking feature and the expo booth. And thank you so much, Masa. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day and enjoy the conference.
You too. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.